everyone. Thank you for being on live with Caroline and I for this soul responsibility conversation. This has been, I think, years in the making as Caroline and I have been chatting and talking about soul responsibility for so long. We met doing the work, and there's some other participants on this talk as well that was part of the original queue. But Caroline and I have been talking for about some years to get together and finally start doing soul responsibility together in some way. And so I'm so happy to have Caroline here with me today. It makes it so much fun to actually have a conversation and hear two different stories or experiences with soul responsibility, how we came to the work and what it's done for us. And then at the very end, I'll be sharing that'll be the information about the upcoming workshop, August 30th. But first, I just want to say hi to Caroline. Welcome
Hey,
her.
Monica, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
It really is exciting because, you and I use this in our daily lives. So sharing this work is just such a privilege, and it's so important for me. And I know you've expressed that to me before, that everyone in the world should have an opportunity to explore it and find out what it is. So that's what this is all about for us.
So many of you know me. Since I'm Monica, a soul responsibility instructor, body talk practitioner, and a whole bunch of other things that I just don't really, it's kind of boring to get into all of the stuff. But I wanted to say that Caroline's the other soul responsibility instructor all the way from South Africa. So we've got both hemispheres of the world covered, and Terry-Ann Nikitas is the founder of Soul Responsibility. Um, I found Soul Responsibility through Facebook, and it was just it was a happening. It popped up, and there was this photo of this it was a model. I don't know if you saw the same thing, Caroline, if you saw the same advert. There was a photo of a model and she was loving her dog, and then there was a photo of the same model and she was abusing her dog, yelling at the dog. And then all that simply said was take responsibility for everything you see in this photo, soul responsibility. So I had no idea what the class was, but I have felt such a pulling towards it. I felt such a draw towards it that stopped me in my tracks to see that
Mm.
juxtaposition of myself reflected back to me through an image of a woman and her dog. And I signed up immediately, and thus the journey of soul responsibility began. And it's been life transformative for me. It's had transformed my life and my health in more ways than I can ever say. And I'm just going to get into this a little bit, Caroline, and then I'll give you the floor. And you can talk about it. But I was listening to Jordan Peterson, and he was talking. I'm shaking as I'm saying this because I could feel how deep this work actually is. So Terry-Ann Nikitas is the founder of Soul Responsibility. And I didn't quite understand first why she had her logo of that saint. And if you look on my website, you'll see the Soul Responsibility logo. There's an angel being rising up from this almost, I don't know, like, what would you say, Caroline? Like this, like he has horns and he kind of looks
Devilish. Yeah.
devilish or some kind of,
Mm.
and there's this angel rising up out of this devilish form. And so I was listening, I didn't quite understand what was happening or really um, understand the depth of this logo. So I was listening to Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about the story of Cain and Abel. And this is bringing even tears to my eyes. So I'm going to paraphrase really quickly. So Abel is they're two brothers. Abel is responsible. So he doesn't cut corners. He just goes about his life. He does his work diligently, and God blesses him. It's not that he doesn't have struggles in his life, I'm assuming, or I'm thinking, it's not that hardships don't come, but he's not cutting corners. He's being fully responsible for himself and his life and his actions, and God smiles upon him and gives him many blessings. Cain, on the other hand, is resentful and becomes vengeful and cuts corners and tries to take the easy way out. And then God doesn't bless him. He's just not blessed. And I can't remember that one sentence in the Bible that said is, so he says, well, God basically reflects back to him all of his own doing, all of his actions. He's like, what does this have to do with me? Basically, effectively, God says, this has nothing to do with me. And Cain gets really angry and then kills his brother. And so I'm seeing this way of, in my own life, when I am acting, I'm coming from a space of being fully responsible for myself, being fully responsible for my life, meaning that doesn't mean that I make the right choice, but I am responsible for the choices that I make, whether they have a good or bad outcome. That has nothing to do with it. That's just a judgment even into itself. Then I have this amazing adventure. Life turns into this glorious adventure. I have no idea. As soon as I slip into that, I don't know, Cainism, or, that resentfulness, that begrudging, comparing, slanderous. So slander not only towards others, but even slandering myself. That blame, I'm going to cry. So not blaming not only others or God, I'm getting the shivers, but blaming myself. Whew. I am at that point completely irresponsible and have sinned not only against God, but really about myself. I've sinned against that God aspect within myself. And that's not to say that I'm not gonna slip, or I'm not gonna, there's a moment of slipping into those spaces. I'm a human, we're all human, but I can take responsibility for the fact that I have slipped into that space. And from there, that's that my soul has been saved. I have saved my own soul. I'm not looking for others to save me or save my life or do something for me. I can do it for myself. Yeah, Caroline, please go ahead. Please, I've just gone off. Go, go, go.
Yeah, I didn't want to like
No.
interrupt you too
Please
much.
go ahead.
And Monica, for me, that those days when you're having a really hard day, where you've slipped, where you're blaming yourself for how tough things are, or you made a wrong choice, or things aren't going your way, or you're just not able to see it. That is where soul responsibility does its work. It's when you're having those terrible days. And how many times have you and I picked up the phone, Mon, okay, take a deep breath. Are you ready? And then we know it's coming. Sometimes you even roll your eyes at me when I say to you, are you ready, Mon? You go,
I didn't even realize my eyes do a roll.
Fine. And I'm sure I do exactly the same, because we know that this is going to help. It's the hardest thing you've ever done sometimes, but you know that doing this work, taking responsibility with a couple of really simple, easy phrases, it just transforms your energy, it transforms your day, it transforms your ability. I feel like it just centers you and anchors you when everything feels like it's in chaos. It brings that little bit of centeredness so that you can, the system regulates somehow again. So this is for exactly when you've slipped, when it's not great, when it feels, if I think about the image you were speaking about with the model and her dog, and there was a sentence that Terry Ann wrote, are you ready to take radical responsibility? And that just like, it hit me in the gut. I was like, yep, don't know what it is, but let's do it. Have no idea what it is. join, join, join. And it was the most profound time of my life. You know, I was in such victimhood that I couldn't even see. You can't even see it. It's so all pervasive, and it feels like it sticks to your skin, and you walk in a room and it just follows you. And you know something needs to shift. So, you don't really know exactly what, but you know something needs to shift. And we started doing these classes, and little by little something would shift. And for me, I don't know about anybody else, but I had huge transformations. I'd come off a call and I'd be man down in bed, like not even 5 minutes later after. And sometimes it wasn't even me that had a process. I think she tried to do a process with each one of us. But just being on a call, just being in the energy, in the presence, in the process, hearing, something happens in you when you're just listening to somebody else's story. Not only because you can kind of, oh, well, it's not only me having a tough time, you can kind of get that objectivity, but whatever the person is doing is happening for everyone on the call. So there's this incredible matrix that gets formed by doing this work in a group together, which makes it more powerful, right? The group coming together really makes it more powerful.
I think there's something so magical and really strong. You know, I don't like to qualify things and say deep or strong, but there is some kind of holding force, this container that takes place when you're doing when in group work. It's like the whole group comes together to hold each person so they could actually surrender, and all of that trauma, you know, it's so trauma doesn't necessarily mean a really big happening like abuse. So it's the trauma, the happening is neutral. Trauma is actually stored within the nervous system, and it's something that happens within you. So it's stored within the myelin sheath. I'm getting a little technical, but so it's stored within that your nervous system. And once you finally take a look at it, it gives it a space. That witnessing of that gives it a space to release or to transmute or to shake out or to whatever. But there's something magical that happens. So often people say, but I am responsible, Monica. I pay my bills and I take care of my children and I go to work. And so where your understanding or your what you think responsibility is the space from which you live your life. It's not your definitions of what responsibility means. It's not like a filter. It's not a filter. It is the space from which you live your whole entire life. It is the space from which you raise your children, from the space from which you have your relationships. So relationships with partners, parents, coworkers, siblings, and it affects everything. So I don't know if you want to touch base on that a little bit, Caroline, because I see you nodding your head. So did you want to add something there?
Yeah, one of the things that we do is we really explore the word responsibility. What is it? And that is the most fascinating exploration. You come up against your, how would I say this? Set in stone ideas of responsibility. And for me, when I first started this, I had a particular idea of responsibility. And as I explored the word, I thought, oh my goodness, I've been packing 10 cement blocks on my back every single day with what I believe this is, or how I've come to understand it in my life, right? I think we kind of glean a meaning from something and then take that as the truth and then live from that, right? As you were saying, that's where you live from. And that exploration of what is responsibility and actually putting words to it that does so much work to really see what you think it is. Just really see what you think. And that was just mind blowing for me. It didn't take long for me to say to Terry Ann, I need to do this. I need to teach this. People need to see this. And not very long after that, Monica was like, I'm with you. Let's go. We need to do this. Because it gave us so much. It gives us today. I mean, it might be 4 or 6 years ago now, or around there. Ross was little, so he was about 1.5. He's almost 7, so a good 5
No,
years ago.
I think more like 6. I can't even
Yeah,
believe it. Something like
there.
6
Yeah,
years.
yeah, because he was still very little, and it's still like we still take the word responsibility and take a look at it. It never stops giving. Every time you explore it, you see something new, and it's just tremendous, tremendous how very like stress in my nervous system has transformed with one word, looking at one word. And yeah, that was really powerful. Sorry, my
No, no,
South
no, go ahead.
African birds are making a big
Oh, that's
noise. I have
okay.
to
That's so
go.
funny. As you're talking about this, I'm feeling something in my gut and something's coming up for me. I'm feeling really nauseous. So maybe even through, if you've never been in this kind of talk before or heard it from this perspective, even listening to Caroline and I talk is already bringing you into that soul responsibility space. It's you're kind of taking a little peek into, oh, what's actually happening? What is soul responsibility? Maybe you're asking questions because I'm getting really dizzy and nauseous. So there's some kind of shift taking place, even for myself as I talk this through. So I know that Caroline and I are talking and you're listening, and it seems like I'm talking to you. I'm really talking through this for myself. And each time I talk this through or explore this in a different way, my experience of responsibility and soul responsibility deepens and shifts in a way. So just because something is your responsibility doesn't necessarily make it your fault. So this is the beauty of this work. Responsibility and fault are often what's that? Usually used as synonyms. Yeah, but if I take responsibility, that means it's my fault. So, there is, so responsibility, you can start looking within yourself. Well, what do I think responsibility means? What does it actually mean to me? What am I actually saying when I tell people I'm responsible? Or I say that I am responsible, or you should be responsible. You should be responsible.
That's it.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? Oh, something really strong is coming up. You know what? I'm responsible. Look at all those tasks that I've taken care of and how much I need to take care of. Now it's your turn to be responsible. You should. And so there comes that blame really strong. And with that blame comes victim. Because if you're blaming, even if it's like, well, I blame myself for being irresponsible, or I blame myself for something, that's still blaming. So blame outside or blame inside is blame anyway. And then comes that victim consciousness and that martyrdom. And then you live your life from that space. Wow, Caroline, I'm just burping. So maybe
Yeah.
like, yeah, there's something
I I
really deep
can't
happening
get
here.
I can't keep talking, but I can't get out of my mind that we should do some with one another.
Okay.
So if you're up for that, you can take
Yeah,
me through some.
we
I
could
can take you through some because when you start tuning in like that, then there's something that needs to be.
There's something going on. I could feel it in my head. I'm nauseous and my back is shaking. And so I'm really, the only sentence that keeps coming up is,
Mm,
so maybe it's us as a group that's coming in
mm,
really strong, or someone within the group that's coming in really strong. Yeah, but I've done everything right. Yeah, but
oh,
oh God. Oh, yeah, but I've made
okay.
all the right decisions for myself and my children. And look, I'm still in conflict. I'm still in conflict. And my children are still, my children are suffering. Oh, my life is suffering. My work is suffering, but I've done everything right. Look how responsible I've been. But it's then means that's my fault.
And what's coming in through for me is I've done everything I can. I've done everything I can, but when I hear that, I go, wow, you've just given up, right?
Yep.
There are trillions of possibilities of the things you could attempt, but you're actually not trying, or not trying everything you can by saying, I've done
Ah,
everything that I can.
there's
I've
that
done everything
apathy.
I can.
There's that
That's it.
apathy.
Apathy
There's
comes
that
in.
absolute, but not the surrender in the sense of the tarot card of the fool. Oh, I
Yeah,
surrender to my life, and life's a big adventure. But I give up in the sense of now apathy has taken over, and well, this is just the way my life is.
that's it. So just remember to mute Arka when she comes in. So that I've done everything that I can is it's almost like hitting a brick wall, right? Yeah. Because you haven't done everything you can. I mean, that's impossible. There's so many things we can do. Yeah. So that's really interesting. You catalyzed something in there for me right now. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have a couple of we have a little bit of time left.
Yeah.
Do you, oh God, there's just something. I feel like my head's on fire. Um, does anyone have any questions or comments? You can put that into the chat box
Yeah.
before we continue, or you can put your hands up. Maybe Caroline can take it.
Even anything that you want to add. So at this point, remember just to use the chat box just for
Yes,
some extra
only the
people that
chat
have come
box.
on the call. Use the chat box and we can answer questions for you, or speak what you want to say. We can do that with great pleasure. Yeah.
I just need to mute myself for a moment, Caroline.
Okay. Yeah. So often this work, it like unfolds in the moment. We don't have a preconceived idea of what we're going to work with, except that we're doing soul responsibility. That's our container. And sometimes it takes a little while to find the right words or the right sentence or the right topic that we're working on, because intuition is bringing something to the surface. When you do a class with Monica or myself, I'm focusing a little bit more on breakthrough at the moment. Um, so I'm also a body talk practitioner, soul responsibility instructor, and a breakthrough instructor for the IBA. But Monica and I use this so every single day, really, that it's part of the fabric of our lives. So we often just wait for the intuition to come and show us what needs to be worked with today. So Monica's tuning into something strong at the moment. And that was really interesting. Someone new came on the call as well. So there was something coming to the surface there. So yeah. Is soul responsibility related with soul contracts? Do you want to try and answer that, Mon?
Oh, no, go ahead, Caroline, for now. Just a
Yeah.
minute.
So I can just tell you my understanding. I'm not a expert on soul contracts, but a soul contract would be, in my understanding, more of a karmically related issue. And while doing soul responsibility may inadvertently clear up some of your karma, we're not specifically working on karmic contracts. So we are taking care of our own souls, whatever that comes with. Okay. We are, that's really the crux of it. You're taking care of your own soul and tuning into your soul's urge, which is something that happened for me, kind of way into working with soul responsibility. Like I started really feeling my soul's urge coming in. It's not an easy path, right? Your soul's urge, it's not the easy way. It's the what you know you need to do, and you're likely avoiding because it's hard work. But it's still really beautiful. It gave me this really powerful feeling of what I needed to do, and it what I felt soul responsibility assisted me with was to be able to face that in one way or another. So, well, yes, yeah, I suppose the lady's writing in soul contract, what soul means to be and do is to come here and do what your soul's journey. So what I'm understanding from that, what the lady's writing is that we're born with a soul contract and something that needs to be fulfilled. So if you're asking in that way, then yes, I felt it since I was a little child, the things that were pushing me and urging me to go in a certain direction. And some of the things scared the living bejesus out of me, and I would avoid them. And this work, soul responsibility, has allowed me to take responsibility for my life so that I can do those things that I know I need to do, even the tough ones, right? Even the difficult things. So we're not specifically doing it for a goal to come and do your soul's work on this earth. It's a very simple, very clear, very to the point. Take responsibility for your daily life. Like I refer to Jordan Peterson as well. Clean your room. Yeah, just go and clean your room. And then the things in your life start falling into place for you. The blessings that from your Cain and Abel story, the blessings start coming to you. So this is very much working with yourself as an individual. And for me, it freed up a lot of my struggle, and it still does daily when I have a struggling day. It frees up the struggle so that I can continue to live.
So
So,
oh, sorry, Caroline. I
okay.
just,
Is soul
so
responsibility
hold
considered?
on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just in the middle. I was reading it, and I can't. My brain can't read and talk at the same. My brain can't
Well,
read and
shall
talk
I
at the
ask the
same.
question
I can't
and
read
you
and
can
talk at the
hear it?
same time. Yeah, sometimes hearing it
I'll ask the
helps.
question and then you can feel it and then respond from there. How does that
Yeah,
sound?
just because
Okay.
the spiritual and more detailed. That's so
Oh,
heady.
hold on. Let me read it for
Yeah.
you. So
Oh,
hang on.
thank you. Thank you.
Is soul responsibility considered to be what's called shadow work?
What do you mean?
Well, from what I understand with shadow work is, I would say it's like shadow work. It's going into the
Into the
depths
dark. Okay,
and
so
bringing, yeah.
I want to stay away from saying it's like this, it's like shadow work, it's like
Mhm.
doing soul's journey, it's like this, it's like that. No, it is soul responsibility and it's its own thing of on itself. I
Good.
don't want to start going and comparing it to other things. It would be like taking a bunch of fruits and saying grapes are like apples and apples are like oranges and oranges are like bananas. They're all fruit. They may come to a similar unraveling or a similar healing, but eating an apple and eating an orange is a completely different experience. And I don't want to start saying it's like this, it's like that. That just feels like mind trying to categorize and make some sense out of something that is it cannot be understood with your senses. This is work that needs to be experienced through your soul. So your soul within Body Talk sits within the right atrium. This work vibrates through your nervous system, releasing old patterns. And so does it go into karma? Yes, it can transmute karma. Yes, it travels down because as you shift, so does the rest of your life. So notice how my hands are going. I'm not going like this. I'm going from here, from me, from my heart, and I'm vibrating outwards. So yes, it can take care of it not only takes care of my physical being, my spiritual being, my emotional being, me, like what I am or my karma, but it also, that shifting, since everything is interconnected, also benefits my life. It benefits my children. It benefits my relationships. It benefits abundance, my manifesting, my what I don't want to say my, that even feels weird to say that, but those strings that are attached where I'm living my life from blame victim consciousness. I'm no longer shackled by the things that I think, but I am actually in myself, in my soul, being fully responsible for myself. And then I can live a full life, live an adventurous life. I'm not being shackled by shame and guilt and burden and avoidance, and then hoping something will shift for itself. Oh God, please, why doesn't my life shift? Does that help? I don't know if that
Yes.
works.
Yes. So having said that, then you don't need to read the chat anymore. So that was very, very clear. But what I will say is with soul responsibility, likely there's something you're avoiding taking responsibility for. And anything that you know you need to take responsibility for that you're avoiding, that will be your shadow work. So, in and of itself, every tiny little thing that you're avoiding, and you know that you should be taking responsibility for it, and it's not the kind of should. We know what right and wrong is. We know. And we're trying to avoid it. That's the moment that the suffering and struggling comes in. So often when we're doing these processes, we're taking responsibility for the things we don't like, we want to avoid. And so I would say that, yeah, you're facing all those things that you don't want to see. Yeah. And there is something profound that happens when you do that. It's like clarity, like if you're looking in a mirror and it's all misty, suddenly you can just see yourself clearly. Yeah. And the next morning you go, the mirror is misty again, you've got to do it again. It's just this, we're always doing it, man. We're not saying, oh, I did it yesterday. We're like, oh, I'm here again. Okay, let's do it. And we go again. Yeah.
So someone's saying that most others, so how are you irresponsible in your own life? Where in your own life have you not taken responsibility? Is so easy. Oh, I'm so angry. Oh, Caroline, such a whew. It's
Okay, take a
so
breath
no, no,
and
no.
slow
I'm
down.
gonna say,
Gonna
yeah,
anchor
yeah, no,
you
no, I'm
now.
angry.
Yeah,
So it's so easy. That was just a surge of energy coming through, not in
good.
a like not in a like a
Mm,
in a lashing out kind of way, kind of like, oof, I'm
mm,
actually feeling that anger rise within me to say something. So
good.
it's very, very slippery slope. And it happens so quickly to say what others are doing or not doing without taking a look at yourself first. And what you're saying about others is a reflection of how you are behaving in your own life. So if you're saying other people are irresponsible, my question for you then is, what are you avoiding within yourself or within your own life that you have not taken responsibility for?
Yeah,
And before you look at the other person's ship, clean up your own room. Take a look
yeah.
at your own mess before you say the mess about the neighbors. It's so easy.
And I think that's a really important point, Monica. We come to do soul responsibility with a real focus of not out there, out there, out there. The focus is with you. Okay. That's that's the only mess you can fix. Well, not even fix. The only mess you can take care of is your own, right? And that's it. That there are so many people not taking care of their messes, and this is an opportunity. And the work is start here. Do your work. Forget about everybody else. Don't even think about everybody else. Come here and do the work here, because when you do, that's the radical responsibility, right? Like for everything that you see, take responsibility for it. Yeah. I
Everything.
take responsibility. If I, oh, that's irresponsible, I take full responsibility for irresponsibility. Yeah. And that's the point of all of this work. If there's one thing to get across today, it's to shift that focus from the outside and do it here.
Yeah, yes, and not in a blame victim consciousness way, saying that it's my fault. So it's really important to understand that it's not about fault. It's not your fault. It's still your responsibility. It's not your fault, but it's still your responsibility. I can't say that enough times. Um, it's not your fault, but it is still your responsibility. So, oof, that's,
Can I say that? Can I do it as
yeah,
one?
yes, absolutely.
It's not my fault, but it is still my responsibility. It is not my fault, but it is still my responsibility. It is not my fault, but it is still my responsibility.
So I want to talk about that a little bit before I give if anybody wants to join the class. Caroline's doing some really powerful work for all of us. She's transmuting something for the group and also for herself. So often,
And is, can I say it
pardon?
once more, Mom? Can I
Yeah,
say it once more?
yeah.
It is not my fault, but it is still my responsibility.
So life happens. Tragedy happens. Really sucky things happen. There's going to be at some point in life that there's going to be a suffering, that you're going to suffer in one way. It's not the happenings that are taking place are not your fault, but how you respond to them, that's your responsibility. So you can have many options. You can go down the easy route, which is, I think, leads to a life of hell, quite honestly. Taking the easy way out, avoiding, blaming, victimizing, murdering, creating more chaos and conflict within yourself and your life. Or you can look at face on honestly and look at yourself with honesty and say, I'm, yeah, I'm responsible.
Don't read it. It's fine. Just keep speaking.
Oh my. So, you can,
So,
that mirror, sorry, Carolee, that mirror, you have a choice. You have the mirror. You can look at yourself honestly, take responsibility for it, and then live I don't want to say a wild adventure, but it is kind of could be a wild adventure. You have no idea. It's this, your hero's journey. It's not within outward anywhere. Your hero's journey is really, it's, people say it's out there. It's really inside here. Such an adventure. Such an adventure. Go ahead, Caroline.
if you've kind of started listening to this in the middle of the conversation, then my recommendation to you is like really start at the beginning of the conversation. Um, so um, this is very powerful work in and of itself. And if you have not done the class before, I highly recommend that you do the class with Monica. It is an induction process from the beginning to the end. And if your mind is full of ideas, of what the soul is, of what responsibility is, and that you think you know what it is, even more so. Book today, pay today, get yourself on this class, because we get so muddled and bogged down in our own um, stories that we can't even see ourselves. So this isn't about another recipe of how to live, or scholarly description of what the soul's journey is. We don't know. We have no idea. We're doing it now. Anything that you can come up with, anything that scholars have come up with, it's interesting information. It really is. And there's some of it is really powerful, and it like hits you in a place. But your own experience is always going to be more powerful. And for me, this work has it's I'm going to say something quite bold. It's freed my soul to for me to really express myself. Like, I've always felt such strong things inside, and this very strong pull to heal others, take their pain away. And after 20, maybe more now, 26 years I've been doing this, only in the last couple of years have I realized what a struggle that is, that had to come to me. You have to begin with you. No matter what you think or get told your soul's journey is, you have to come to it in your own right, in your own way. Okay? And the suffering that I went through trying to heal everybody, oh my goodness. It's still a thing that it's such a pull. Someone's in pain, and emotionally, physically, whatever. I get pulled to it, and then I have to kind of realize, oh, okay, I've got to take responsibility for myself, support the person in being able to take responsibility for them. What can you do that is helpful, that isn't going to undermine somebody's ability to take care of themselves? Right? So that's all my stuff, right? So just take the class. That's all I can say to you. Take the class.
Thanks, Caroline. But before we hop off, you said that so beautifully. And it's like when the airplane is going down, what do the flight attendants tell you? Put the air mask on yourself first, and then you can help those around you. Because if you're not in service to yourself, then you can't be in service to anyone else. And for me, taking this class, what it's done, I remember as soon as I took the class, I remember talking to Caroline and to Terry and going, okay, can I teach now? Can I teach now? And now, and now, and now, and now. And it was almost over. Thank God for their patience. But I was so persistent. My heart was in it so much that I knew that I needed to share this with others, because it has done so much for me. It actually healed my psoriasis. I had crippling, debilitating psoriasis on my hands that I could not even wash my baby daughter at the time, could not do the dishes. I knew how bad winter was going to be. They bled spontaneously. And this was even having done being a body talk practitioner and doing all the rest of the work. There was just something missing to it. And once I found this was the missing link for me. That was the sole responsibility, was the missing piece. And each class that I took, each process, each group that we came together and held each other in, my skin healed. It closed, it stopped bleeding. And now you wouldn't be able to tell that 6 years ago, I was in agony and really embarrassed to go outside even. And it's really quickly, the skin on a consciousness level is how you meet the world. It's the first thing, along with the heart, first thing that presents itself. Do you want to say something, Caroline, before I share the information?
Well, I would not be a breakthrough instructor today if it were not for soul responsibility. Because the steps that I had to take and to get there, mentally, emotionally, financially, everything, would not have come to pass if I didn't have soul responsibility. So, and I know that that's my, at this point in my life, that's my soul's work. That's what I need to do, right? And it's my toughest road. It's my toughest road. So, yeah, tell us about your class, Monica. When is it going to be? Where can people sign up?
So I'm going to
Etc.
share, yeah, so it's August. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to write my email. So if you want to get in touch with me, this is the best way to do so. This is a direct, can you please let me know? I'm having difficulties going to a direct message to someone, and I want to send it to I want to
Well, do
send.
you want to give it to me and I'll, so there's a little blue box that
Oh, here we
says
go. I got it to
person
everyone.
or everyone. There we go. There we go.
Okay. So there's my email address. The class begins. For those listening, my email is monicamarzac@gmail.com. So I'll spell my last name because it can be a little bit tricky. So Monica is spelled Monika. Marzac is MARCZUK @gmail.com. So you can reach me there. If you want to join the class, you can do so through my website is www.mmarzac.com. And you can find me there or email me. Class begins August 30th at in the evening. We meet every Wednesday at 6:15 for 2 hours. So 6:15 to 8:15 every Wednesday for over a 6-week period. And we come together as a group and we do the work. Just like we explore responsibility, what responsibility means, what it means to you. And then so that's the first class, and then everyone gets taken through a soul responsibility process. And the way that group work works is that even though you're not being led through a process, the other person being led helps transmute for you. So it's exponential healing for everyone, and everyone has the ability to be taken through a process. So if you like to explore yourself in a new way, a shift perspective, move out of your mind and into your soul, then please come and participate with us. Thanks.
And I'd like to say, if you're a crazy South African, the time zone, sometimes I am, the time zone, it would start at, what did you say, 6:15? It would start at 12:15 at night. And you could go to the early hours of the morning. It is, though, possible. So it is possible. There are people that burn the midnight oil to do the classes. And this would be one of the best ways to do that. And maybe a little later on, we can strong arm Monica to do an earlier class, or later on, I can do some more in a time zone that helps everybody else. So we've got the two hemispheres. We can try figure it out,
So if anyone's interested in breakthrough, please contact Caroline. That's a whole different can of worms, although there's similarities in between the work. That's also another powerful way to shift your perspective on your life and conflict. So Caroline is a breakthrough instructor, and she's teaching a class in October, I believe. Caroline, is it? October sometime. So if anyone wants to, get in touch with Caroline, you can go ahead, put in your email.
I'll give you my email address now, davy.caroline@gmail.com, because I have a Wednesday group, and this week actually I have a public presentation for Breakthrough. But please get in touch with me directly and I'll help you with the little processes of registration for that. The breakthrough group is free and it's open to everyone. You don't have to have done the breakthrough class, although it is always helpful. And the breakthrough presentation is really designed for people that have never taken it. They're curious about it and they want to know more. So that will happen on Thursday. And then I'm very good on WhatsApp. But I have to give you my South African number, +27825701569.
I am not very
So I'm
good.
very good on WhatsApp. I'm better on WhatsApp than email. And you're welcome to message me. And if you're messaging from another country, you might get a message that says, I only respond in working time. So just bear with, that's just for people internationally, because you don't really know what the time zones are. So yes, I'd love to hear from you and
Come take the class, and hope to see you all August 30th.
I'll try and be a crazy South African and
No,
join
no,
you,
you
but
are not.
we'll see.
No, you will. No, you will not.
I've fallen to bed a little early.
Been a crazy Canadian and getting up and working in class at. I'm one of those lunatics that I'm up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and in class
To
at
do a
6
class.
a.m.
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
the lunatics, but not everyone is as crazy as we are, Caroline. So thank you all for being here. Thank you
Thank you,
for listening to
Monica.
the recording. Before we wrap up, are there any questions? Any questions, comments, questions about the
I
talk?
wonder, maybe, do you want to stop the recording and let everyone have a little 5-minute
Yeah,
hello?
that would be great. All right. So thank you all for joining us. Thanks, Caroline, for being on. It was so fun. And
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing from all of you who come on to Soul Responsibility.